Alright fam, let's get this episode started. So look fam, are you a shooter? Are you? I got to give just some context, some background to why I posed the question. So my dad is retired law enforcement, taught me how to shoot at elementary school age, but and I enjoyed it, you know, primarily doing like pellet guns, BB guns, 22s, that kind of thing, right? When I hit like junior high, high school, I really got into basketball and the team sports and things like that. So it really wasn't shooting. And then when I was in college, that's when I bought my first real gun, if you want to call it that, but never really shot it. Fast forward, it's 2020, COVID is jumping off. Two things happened for me during that time. Number one, I was working remotely and that did free up some time. Also, everything was shut down, so there was nowhere really to go. And so that freed me up for a lot of YouTube consumption, right? The other thing that happened was we were having up riots and, you know, standing in line for 2 hours to get some toilet paper and all that stuff was going on, right? So I was like, I probably need to get a better gun. So you take that need, this time, and YouTube, and you put it all together, and this is how 5 years later you see me standing here with my own YouTube channel talking about guns with 100,000 plus subs. So I have really enjoyed this journey from kind of evolving to, as a student of firearms, both the firearms themselves and kind of secondarily, initially, certainly, training and getting familiar with all the different platforms, all the different calibers of firearms that consumed, and then getting like fundamental training, you know, kind of safety and basic pistol and basic carbine and things like that during that period, right? And so that was amazing. And then I kind of evolved. I figured out what platforms I love, like the 2011 platform on the pistol side. Love AR-15s, also had an affinity for PCCs, and then discovered I really like to collect, right? So all these things have kind of evolved in my channel, and I try to give you guys a little bit of all of that in my videos, right? And so, and you guys have been incredibly supportive. And I would say, you know, the internet can be a mean place. Fortunately for me, I have made a Teflon. Nothing anybody says really bothers me or affects me one way or the other. But I would say probably about 92% of the comments that I receive on my channel are 100% positive and reaffirming. And I'd say maybe 5% are kind of constructive criticism, things that people notice, maybe things I hadn't thought about, maybe certain things that I could do better. To me, those 5% is just important as a 92% because often those are the things that help me grow as a content provider. And then there's the 2% of the comments, whatever, that are just nasty. People who are either envious or, you know, are unhappy in their own lives and need to go online to vent, and I just happen to be the person on the screen that day, or whatever the case may be, right? And those, depending on how much time I have and what my mood is during the day, I might just heart those comments and keep it pushing, or I might engage, if you will. Never to be as nasty, but more to kind of point out their issues, to try to hold a mirror up to themselves, right? And so I got into this with, in the comment section with a guy, kind of having a back and forth exchange, and he told me, like, he asked me, or he basically said, you aren't even a real shooter. I bring that up here, and I silenced him and shut him down or whatever. And that caused me to like think about, what is a real shooter? I did an episode a while ago, how good a shooter are you, or something like that. But are you a shooter? I think this is something that I want to continue to kind of make topical and bring to the forefront, because I think it's problematic. When somebody says, are you a real shooter? I don't know what that means. I think I understand what they're trying, where their mentality is about it. But I don't think they're thinking, really. I think they're at a very surface level. And I think they're probably saying that they feel that they have developed a skill set that is a skill set relative to being able to shoot, their shooting acumen and skill. They feel they have achieved a certain level of achievement relative to that, and then they look down on people who they feel are not at their level. I think that's what they're trying to do. But what I would say is, if I'm being honest, your shooting skill, if you will, in and of itself, to me, does not speak to the question, are you a real shooter? Because in my book, the real shooters, if there is such a thing, are people who expect and have the mental fortitude to have bullets when they're shooting coming back at them from downrange. Those are the real shooters. So if you're not doing that, in my book, you're not a real shooter. Okay? I don't care what your USPSA level is, ABC, Master, Grandmaster. I don't care. If you don't have the expectation of return fire, in my book, you're not a real shooter. Okay? So if you put on a gun every day and go to work and you kick in doors for a living, either in law enforcement or the military, utmost respect to the people that keep us safe. If that is not you, then I don't know what a real shooter is. Aside from that, certainly there are more shooting incidents that transpire that don't just involve law enforcement and the military. We have self-defense shooting situations happening all the time in this country, right? And so if you've been in a self-defense shooting, you've had to draw your firearm and exchange them, okay, you get the real shooter badge as well. But again, if you're somebody who has developed a higher skill at shooting paper, I'm not impressed. I'm just not impressed. I don't care about your bill drill times. I don't care about, because I've seen it too much over the course of my years on this planet. I have seen guys who go in the gym and train in MMA or train in boxing or train in, different fighting disciplines or whatever, and they're mastering, they can do all the stuff. And then I've seen them get confronted with real violence and freeze. So the people, again, who are out here shooting paper for fun, you're not a real shooter. And if you're one of those people and you use that phrase, you should stop. You should stop. Like I said, my dad is retired law enforcement. I have a ton of friends and family who have served in the armed forces. And I've been blessed to spend a lot of my life around these people to hear their stories, right? And you know what none of them ever call themselves, even the ones who are highly trained, who are in specialty groups, either within law enforcement or the military, none of them call themselves real shooters. None of them. Not a one. And so I think the arrogance that some people have, And I don't want to make it seem like, oh, somebody said something to me and they hurt my feelings. Not at all. I could care less. Like I said, I dismissed that dude in seconds. This is more so not what's aimed at me, but what I see being aimed at other people in the community who are made to feel less than because they don't compete, or are made to feel less than because they're not burning down 1,000 rounds a week in ammo, or because they go to the range infrequently, or because they don't do any kind of tactical training, or whatever these people. Look, if that's your jam, and some of that, a lot of that is my jam. If that's your jam, then cool. But you don't, because you opt to do that and somebody else doesn't, it doesn't give you the right to look at them as lesser any more than it gives somebody who makes more money than you be able to look down on you as your lesser. You wouldn't like that, right? So don't do it the other way. I just think, look, there are a lot of beautiful people in the 2A space, but there's some bad apples out there. And I don't think we do a good enough job at calling out the bad apples sometimes. And so that's what this is about. That's what it is. So are you a real shooter? As long as you can shoot well enough for your use case, whether that is high-level military, high-level law enforcement, whether that is home defense, whether that is concealed carry, whatever your use case is, you need to train and be proficient enough to be able to execute your specific use case. And in my book, that makes you as much of a shooter as a grand master in the USPSA or national champion, right? Because like I said, unless you have taken fire or your job is to do so, I'm not really trying to hear what an actual shooter you are. All right? That's it for this episode, fam. Until next time, as always, take care of one another and peace.